Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Spooky Things with Debbie. I hope you guys have all had a great week. It's just starting, so there's all kinds of fun stuff still to happen by the end of the week. We never know. Tonight's going to be a very, very interesting show. We have Mr. Josh Joyner on with us. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Um, Now, Josh, you live up in Pennsylvania, right? Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Pennsylvania. Um, Okay, because down from where I'm just going to adjust this camera a little bit. Down from where I'm from here, it's like a completely different terrain than what you guys got up there in Pennsylvania. So a lot of experiences that I might have had might be different from the ones that you have up there as far as topography and the way that nature is in itself. Hey, Teresa.
Hello, Mrs.
So
Pike.
call her Teresa because she says it makes her feel old. I know, I know. Um, okay, so you have some very interesting things that you want to talk about and that I would love to hear about. You sent me some um, videos on some things that you guys have been doing some research on. These are the videos that you just sent like a couple of days ago.
Oh,
Cloaking.
those files with
Yeah.
a bunch of photos and some videos in them. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
my field research files. I'm solo though.
Oh, okay. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. Well, the area, I'm not giving the exact location. It's in southwestern Pennsylvania in higher elevation areas that connect in with the Appalachians. And
Girls?
pretty much it all started back in 2007. And I met my wife, and I was a city slicker. And, I told her where I was from, we just have ghost stories and stuff like that. I says, well, tell me some things about the country because cows outnumber people where you're from. And she says there's these giant, nude, hairy people who only come out at night and they steal livestock and people's pets. And I looked at her and I laughed at her, and she never mentioned it again until I started having my interactions. So I love the woods. So we would go out there biweekly to visit my father-in-law, and I would walk down there and smoke my cigarettes in the woods, and notice these people looking around the trees at me. I look at them, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then they'd pop their head back. And I'm like, wow, you're weird. I say hi and you hide from me. And then when I go to approach them, they'd run or they would be gone, like poof, vanish. So this went on for a while. And I kept telling my wife, I'm like, pardon my French, but I'm like, babe, you got a bunch of hills have eyes inbreds in these woods. There's some real backwoods hillbillies up there. I didn't know what else to think. I've never seen nothing like that. I thought they were wearing like Carhartt overalls. You know what I mean? I didn't realize it was hair because they always kept the distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, this was in 2007. So I set up trail cameras. I'm like, these people are weird. I need to get them on trail camera and see if they're deformed, like on the movie Hills Have Eyes. And and then the one tried, it took the camera off of the tree, and I got photos. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, holy crap, we got monkeys in Pennsylvania. Well, they weren't monkeys. I learned later. So here I am thinking they were monkeys. So every time we go down there, I'd take an entire rucksack full of vegetables and fruits and all kinds of food down there. I set up a gifting rock. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna make these monkeys like me. So every time we go down there, every night that I'm down there, I go in the woods and I'd I'd leave those monkeys some food. And they were mean though. Like it was to the point that I had to wear body armor when I went in the woods because they would throw feces at me, very large feces, and rocks the size of dinner plates. So I would wear body armor going in the woods, and religiously it went on. Took 12 years to get them to like me. Hey, Mike, that's my buddy. After 12 years, they actually accepted me. And from that point, because it's been 19 years now, over 19 years, from the 12-year mark, we established a friendship and a mutual respect, and it grew. But then I started seeing things that I learned real quick they weren't monkeys. Monkeys don't vanish. Monkeys don't walk on two legs. And then I ended up meeting the other ones down there with the dog heads. Turns out they were Cynocephali Dogmen. They packed together. And then it grew from there. I started doing my research because I wanted to know what they were. How do they do the things they do? And I became obsessive compulsive with it. Like it's all I was able to think about. And I devoted myself to it. And I learned a lot. I learned a
So
whole
you've been
lot.
doing, so you've been researching in that particular area since 2007.
Yes, ma'am.
It's almost 20 years. Yeah.
19 and a half.
20 years. Mm-hmm. Um, so how many would you think that there would be out there?
Of the Sasquatch or the Cynocephalus Dogmen?
In Sasquatch? Well, actually, how
23.
many of both of them? There's exactly 20. Are they family units that you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There's 23 of them that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
That I know of.
So
They
these
all
are the
have
ones that are
different.
familiar with you.
Yes, ma'am. Some of them I've given names. Um, Interestingly enough, is when my wife was a kid, she had these invisible friends. Because this is where it gets into the woo. Who would visit her from the woods in her yard back then. When these creatures was coming to me, when I'd name them, like I'd say, I'll call you Gizmo. Why would I call you Gizmo? That's your nickname. Or Big Black. I'm Benny. Benny Benjamin. Turned out the names, because I went back to my wife, the names of my wife's invisible friends from the woods were the names they were giving me. And I didn't even know this until I talked to her about it. So they watched my wife grow up. And then I started going in the woods, and then I'm interacting with them. But she's scared crapless of them now that she's grown.
Why is she afraid of them?
She got taken
Because they're very
when she was about 5 or 6. They took her. She don't have any recollection of what happened or how long she was gone. Her only memory of it was her mom got a hold of her and she was covered in mud. She had soiled herself and she was in a state of shock, and her mom was checking her over for injuries and implying to her that she's okay. She didn't know how long she was gone or anything of that nature, and that established a fear base.
How long was she gone for?
She don't know. And her mother passed away, so she can't go back and ask her.
Oh dear. Do they remember her?
Hmm.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
And did they acknowledge that they were the ones that took her?
No, they have never acknowledged that to me.
Okay.
They have never acknowledged that to me, that they had taken her. No. But she's scared of them, and they like me more than her. Like they've almost attacked her over me.
Really?
Yeah, we was in the backyard one night, and we was having an argument. You know, we was having a verbal argument. I don't even remember what it was over, and she put her hand over my mouth because I cut her off. And the moment she put her hand over my mouth, three of them come barreling up through the lower part of the yard. They were charging towards her, and she grabbed a hold of my arm, and I had to escort her back into the house and come back out and remind them, this is my queen. If you hurt my queen, you hurt me. They're extremely protective of me, like on a very weird level.
Now, your home, is it rural or is it more
I
where
live
what's the locale of it?
all right where this all originated. Cows outnumbered people. I live near city, but it's back roads of the areas around the city. You know, I live 40.
Outskirts?
I live 47 miles north of my research site. They found me
Okay.
here. They found me literally. If
Hmm.
because I was going there biweekly. If I missed a week going out there, they would come up here to start banging on the house. They literally found me.
So they communicate with you?
It's weird. It's I don't like talking about that much, but they use hand talk, like they use their hands. Rock clacks, series of thumps on trees, different types of grunts. We have an establishment like when I would go into the territories, I would do an owl mimic and they would do it back. I would do it, they'd do it back and they'd be closer. And we would go back and forth until they're about 15, 20 feet away. Then they would shake a tree to let me know they're there. And also a little bit of harmonic induction, but that's something I don't like talking about because that's very personal to me.
Okay.
You know what
So
harmonic induction is, the mind speak stuff. I don't like
yes.
talking about that because that leaves you open to get made fun of, but it ain't no joke.
Okay. So we'll set that aside. Okay. Um, Now, is it like just a certain number that are repetitively coming? In other words, somebody that kind of leads it off, or is it a certain group that are always together
The
when you
ones that
see them?
the ones that interact with me the most,
Yes.
that would be Chaka, Gizmo, Big Black, Romper, and then with the Cynocephalus, you got Rufus and Fala.
Rufus and Kafala. Now, is Kafala
Fala,
a female?
Fala.
Fala. Is Fala a female?
Yes, she is a white female Cynocephalus dog man or dog woman, you should say.
Okay.
She almost ate one of my friends over me.
Well, okay. That doesn't sound very friendly.
That was an experiment gone wrong.
It sounds like it. I'm so sorry that he ate your husband. Um, Now, how do they communicate with you? Is it different between
Yes,
the two? It
the
is.
Cynocephalus, they only make canine sounds,
Okay.
and they pretty much they watch. They watch. That's about that. They'll go up in the tree and watch over you. But that one night, oh man, that was crazy. What happened was I had one of my buddies up at my camp with me, and Chaka, the female Sasquatch, she was laying in prone position up on the ridge. She was watching us. And he goes, dude, I think she's watching me. I was like, no, dude, she's watching me. She's waiting for me to set her gift out. And he's like, no, no, I think she likes me. I was like, all right, dude, we have two-way radios. I will flank to the right, you will flank to the left. We'll see who she follows, and then we'll regroup back at camp. She followed me. I radioed in, informed him that I was the one being paced. So we went back to the camp area. A few hours go by. We had the fire ripping, and it comes out of the blue. We had this wonderful thought. I wonder if they would protect you if you were in danger. I was like, all right, buddy, we got a metal fire poker right there. I'm going to stand in front of my hammock facing up the hill. You stand behind me. I'm going to count to three. You swing that darn thing and act like you hit me over the head with it. Counted to
Oh,
three. He swung it, and I slumped over my hammock, and I was laying there like this, like I was dead. And I was just kept my eyes looking straight up the hill. She sprung up, looking like this, and then she went to charge down the hill, and the white Sasquatch that I call the handler grabbed her and pulled her back, almost like friends at a bar scene where it's like, no, dude, it's not worth fighting. You know what I mean? She let out this guttural scream. I mean, it was ferocious. This big scream that rattled every bone in your body. Next thing you know, from our right flank, everything the woods had to offer was being thrown at my friend. Like nuts, tree branches, a tire came flying in. Anything you could think of was being thrown at him. He put his arms up like this to protect himself, and he turned into that position to see what's throwing stuff at me. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
When he did that, two in the quad position was charging down the hill. And at this point, that would have been to my left, but the position he was facing at this point would have been his rear. And there was a thick tree brush right there. They were coming in and flanking him from behind. And I realized they were coordinating an attack on him. So I jumped up. I grabbed the chem light, started waving it around, whooping, I grabbed him up, gave him a noogie on his head, showed him we were playing around. Everything stopped and went dead silent. We thought, okay, everything's cool. Hours go by. We were laying in our hammocks. So you had my hammock here. My head's at this end, so I could watch up the hill this way. The fire was between us, and his hammock was on the other side of the fire, and his head was positioned so he could watch the other direction. So I'm sitting there with my night vision, and I'm watching. Matter of fact, I'll even show you the picture. Let me go to the file. I'll show you the picture because I don't open my mouth unless I can show you proof. That way people can't say, oh, he's full of it. Fala went to the tree and the end where his head was tied off onto. And when she did that, she was peeking around the tree, and the one I called a handler, the one that held Chaka back, was right there. And let me flip my camera. Boop. I think that's the right button. Okay. And see, you can barely see in this. I'll show you different filters of it. But right here, it's hard to do with these everything's reversed. You can see the head popping out. Now I'm gonna change pictures here. Different filters of it. This is whenever I was looking through my SD card thingy. Everything's reversed. There's the head right here. There's the handler's face behind. So she was peeking around the tree at him, watching him, and then my night vision died, and I had almost a full charge. And when that happened, the it was an oscillation effect. Before this point, I didn't understand that they could do that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to get rid of the glare. But yeah, that's her face right there when she peeked around the tree, and my camera oscillated and died, and it was like 78% or something like that. It was just about full. And what had happened from that point, she went into the prone position and went underneath of his hammock, like literally under his hammock. And I'm laying there looking over. My night vision is dead. The only light I have at that point was the fire. So he's on the hammock, right? Her head would come up, look at him, look over at me, and then sink back down. Did that a few times. Then after a third or fourth time, when she put her head up, she laid it on his chest as if because he was snoring. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, wake up. And he's just snoring. Literally laid her head on, huh?
Wow,
But
I'm just surprised.
oh,
Yeah.
she laid her head on his chest as if she was listening to his heartbeat. And then she started sniffing from his chest up to his neck. And then she nudged him with her snout. When he opened his eyes, her whole face curled up like National Geographic wolf. And then she looked up at me, and I was praying. I ain't gonna lie. I was praying, don't eat my friend, don't eat my friend. She looked back down at him, curled the face back up again. Then we heard a grunt from the brush line behind where he was at. And she looked back that direction, looked at me with a straight face, looked back down at him, curled her face up again, looked up at me as normal face, looked back, looked down at him, curled her face back up again. And then she nudged him again and she took the tip of her tongue and tasted his cheek. Literally just tasted his cheek. And when she did that, she looked up at me with a straight face, stood up on two legs, turned and walked towards that brush, turned back around, looked at him, curled her face up again, looked at me, did a motion like that, like an upward kind of thing, and then walked off into the brush where we heard the handler grunt. And that was that for that night. That's the night that Cynocephali Dogmen literally almost ate my friend because we did a stupid experiment to see if they would protect me.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know it at the time, but
No, I
you know,
didn't. I'd never do
if
that again.
I would think now, I go very much into. I mean, I've been around animals all my life, so whenever I'm approaching a situation like what you're dealing with, I look at it in a more physiological way compared to what I'm used to working with presently.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, in a situation like what you're talking about here, it's interesting to me because everything that I have ever been told of or researched or about the dogmen, so to speak, is that they're vicious. They're just vicious. They're not.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
They're not
No, they're not.
to be. Yeah, but
A lot of it
they're
has to
not.
do with fear. If you're scared, you become
Absolutely,
prey. It's pheromone based.
absolutely. That's very true.
Another thing too,
But
you take into
considering.
consideration. I've been feeding that clan for how many years? From
Mhm.
two, I started feeding them in 2009, and this was like 2022.
I don't
Or no,
really know of
23. I have already, yeah, I've had 16 years of feeding them biweekly at this point.
I don't really know of anybody that has made any kind of a direct contact with
Um,
a creature like this in anything but a wild and uncontrolled kind of a situation.
this, as you see at the bottom corner, this is directly from one of my live streams in the woods. This is a
Hmm.
screenshot from my live stream. That's Rufus right there. I'll blow it up even. That is Rufus in that tree right there. I walked to the base of that tree and acknowledged him. He popped his head out, acknowledged me, and then popped his head back behind the tree. I have respect with these beings.
Right.
I know it's hard to believe. Like, a lot of people think I'm nuts when I tell them that, but yeah. What do I feed them? Okay. With the Sasquatches, put my camera back. With the Sasquatches, I feed them like they love pineapples, apples, stuff of that nature, jerky, and excuse me. But with them, when I feed the Sasquatches, I take raw liver and I hang it in the trees all around my camp, the whole way around the circumference of my camp. I'll hang raw liver, like 2, 3 packs, up in the trees for them
Okay.
every time. I'd give the Squatches their fruits and vegetables. I would give them their raw liver. Have you
Have
tried
you
to get
tried to get
some?
some DNA from them to have them tested?
No, I wasn't after them for anything of that nature. My intent was to build a friendship with their species and to prove that that line could be crossed in that nature, and I did prove that. I don't exploit. I'm
Well,
not there to exploit. I respect them.
right.
They know
Which is
your intent.
exactly, yeah, which would be exactly, you know, most of your good researchers have the same philosophy. Um,
I have hair
we're
samples
talking,
and casts.
well, it might not be a bad idea to get the hair samples DNA tested to see, what genus that they fit into.
I'll tell you what's weird about squatch hair. You take a strand of squatch hair, you shine a light directly on it, it's translucent. You shift your light angle, it turns black. Turn at another angle, it turns blonde. And at another light angle, the hair turns brown.
Hmm,
It's like a prism effect.
interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, whenever now I saw what we call them skunk apes down here. Um, very much the same animal, of course, is going to vary depending on topography that they're at as well.
They have 5 toes and
What
they're
they
more
eat,
aggressive.
what the Sasquatch or the skunk
Skunk
apes.
apes.
Um, well, when I saw it, I saw it one time and only one time, and it was pretty close. It was pretty close and personal, but they don't stick around long enough for you to
Really?
really make too much out of it. So, but one of the interesting things that I found was that where I saw had my particular sighting, it was in a it was behind a military flight line. So it was very rural, very set off. Nobody really went back there,
They're common in those
and
areas.
they are. They really are. Um,
Was that the closest you ever
however,
been to
back
a species?
is that what?
Is that the closest you have ever been to one of them?
That's the only time I have ever been to close to
I'll
one
show
of
you the closest I've been to them.
one and one.
It'll blow your mind, frame by frame. There it is coming in. I hate how it's reversed. It's coming in, coming in. Right there, sitting next to the fire, right next to me, eating the apples I gifted him. I'm on a chair. It's sitting on its bottom. Well, flat on the ground, but yeah. They literally will sit right next to me by the fire when I have none of my electronics running. If I turn off all my equipment and I just sit there in silence and wait for them, this is the effect I get. They will literally come and sit with me. Kind of looks like a blur on the.
To frequently hang out with our military bases. Yeah, that's kind of what we've noticed as well. They are very attracted to it.
Yeah, it's literally sitting with me. It's frame by frame. This is when he was
Yeah.
coming in. That's his belly. That's me turning my head and acknowledging it, getting ready to sit down. Yeah. I'll show you. I have bite casts too. I have two of them. They have two rows of teeth. The ones I interact with also have six toes and six fingers. There's the message I left for them. There's the gift. I was trying to establish a written communication with them to see if they understood glyphs or whatever.
Hmm.
This is their fingerprints that were taken from the back of my shirt when I got injured one time in the woods. Those are my drag marks. I injured my back. I fell out of a tree. I couldn't get up this hill. That's his footprint right there. It picked me up by the back of my shirt and my belt, and my feet were dragging behind. And it literally carried me up the hill. Here's the imprints of where his foot went. Well, their toes are up there. Let me get a smaller version. Yeah, his print right there.
How large how large would you say these animals are?
I stand up to their belly button.
Hmm.
Literally, I stand up to the belly button. I'm only 5'4". That's the pineapple cast. But yeah, this
The, the
gizmo.
one the one that I saw was not that tall. Um,
Well,
I
the
had
six
the
toe ones
impression
are
that
bigger.
just from what I saw that it was a juvenile that I had seen, but it was about, I say at the most, probably around 7 foot.
7
About that,
foot.
I would say. Yeah.
These ones out here have a 21-inch footprint.
Hmm.
That's from heel to toe.
I really didn't get to see the feet all that much of the one that I saw because it was standing in a mangrove. There was like a canal of mangroves.
I'll show
And
you
when
their
it
feet.
turned to leave, I was shocked at the way that it managed to run through the mangroves so very easily.
I'll
But
show you their feet.
I can't say that there was any communication. There wasn't. It was just that fright of seeing one another, and then it was like, oh, time to go, kind of turn and leave. So the Native Americans told stories of red-haired giants that had two rows of teeth that ate humans. Very possible.
That is true.
What does it say? Lovelock Cage?
Yep.
Lovelock
Level
Cave.
cave. They burned them out.
Charles says, I've heard three knocks, grunts, and a very horrible smell and a rock thrown at me, but I leave them alone.
Three
That's
knocks.
probably your.
Three knocks is a territorial breach. Two knocks means food. One knock is your destination.
How are you able to decipher that?
Decipher what?
The knocks, the meaning of the knocks.
I've been interacting with them for over 19 years.
Uh huh.
You learn over time what different things are. Like, for instance, um, when I would go down in there, when they would be approaching the area, it would be one knock. And then I'd hear one knock way over that way. Then I'd hear another knock way over that way. That's telling you your positioning. So when I'd go in, I'd do one knock. Hey, I'm here. This is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'd leave them food, I would do two knocks. And if I'd leave the area, I'd hear two knocks. And then they would go and retrieve the gift, in which I would always leave a Tascam DRO5X hidden in that area. And sure enough, right after those 2 knocks is when they're gathered at the gifting table taking the food. 2 knocks means there's food. 3 knocks is a territorial breach. If they do a rock clacking now, it's a series of 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 6, 4. That's telling them, watch him, follow him.
It's interesting.
It's like Morse code.
Mm-hmm. So it's a clear sense of communication.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, Now let's dive just a little bit deeper into it.
Sure.
You were saying at one point that you were exploring the premise that they could be interdimensional.
Oh, I know they are.
You know they are.
Yeah.
Okay. How is it that you came to that conclusion?
All right. You see a blue orb? That's
Hmm.
them. They can travel in a blue orb and then manifest when they see the blue orb state. That's a higher vibrational frequency that they're in. And then when they lower their vibrational frequency, they would go into the phases of the coloration change to where they're coming into a more dense matter form. Just like when you see structures in the woods, those are like antennas helping to keep those frequencies grounded based on the different minerals in the ground of those certain areas. People think they're territory markers, but they're not. They use that to keep the energy field grounded, so they have that excess enemy, or not enemy, energy to pull to do what they do. And pretty much is when they say interdimensional, it's like they break down their corpuscles to where they're into the ethereal state, or what we would think of as being a soul kind of state. And a lot of people think that when they go through these portals that they're going like miles away. No, no, it don't work like that. Not at all. When they do this, they're literally going into what I call the mirror realm. They're When they go through that portal, they're inches away. They're just in a reflection of the same forest that you're in, but they had shifted their spectrum 10 to the 12th power towards, which would go towards the infrared. Or, I mean, no, 10 to the 15th would go towards infrared, or 10 to the 12th power would shift them towards the ultraviolet.
Okay. Um,
I got the whole cloaking thing mapped out. I have it all mapped out.
I've seen a few over the last few years.
Awesome.
On 4 different occasions, I've seen them disappear after their eyes go very bright, all in daylight.
Oh, that's cool seeing that in daylight. Righteous.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I saw it, it was at night. It was pretty lit up, but it was at night.
See, I prefer to be out there
Um,
at night, especially I go out there solo. I go out there in the middle of the night all by myself. I run full spectrum cameras, trail cameras, thermal. I have a FLIR thermal, and I have a lot of high end technology that I take with me.
mhm.
And I use various spectrums of light. I use infrared, I use thermal, I use UV, I use all different types of lighting. That full spectrum is awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool stuff. Um, Now, let's go back to the dogmen.
Okay.
Do you believe that the dogmen are interdimensional as
Yep.
well?
They are high vibrational beings as well.
Okay.
But when they go near fire, they glitch. If they're cloaked and they get too close to fire, they start glitching. Like their
Why do you
phase,
think that
it
is?
flickers. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's because of the energy that the fire has or whatever, but it causes their cloak to glitch.
But not with the Sasquatch. They don't have that same issue.
They don't really come near the fire that much, at least cloaked
100%.
whenever they're around me. You know, when these Sasquatches come in around me, yeah, they be cloaked. When I'm walking around the woods, they'll come up and poke me and run off and whatnot, like to pull around with me, like a hide and seek kind of thing. But when I'm established at my base camp and I'm down and none of my equipment's running, I have the fire running, they'll come right up there and sit next to me. I mean, they're not in their cloaked form, they're in their actual grounded mass.
Okay. We're talking about how much the average. We're just talking an average. How much would you think that their mass would be? What would their weight be?
It depends on how old they are, how tall they are. I mean, you take one that's approximately 9 foot tall, you're going on about 1,200 pounds.
Right.
You figure they got a 4.5 foot spread on their chest alone, or shoulder to shoulder.
Hmm.
They're huge. Like I only stand up to their belly button, but I'm 5'4". I'm short.
Yeah. I'm actually the same. I'm 5'4" myself, so I know what you mean. Um, but like I said, the one that I saw, it's about 7 foot,
How many
and
toes did it have?
I honestly didn't see the feet because she was standing in mangroves. I
See, that's
either took the
something.
four. Hmm?
So that's something that has
Yeah.
to be taken in consideration. A lot of squatchers don't think about this kind of stuff. You know, if you think back to Genesis, okay, biblical wise, Genesis 6, when the fallen would take upon women and they mixed their genes, okay, some did, some didn't. Now the ones who kept their lineages clean, they are bigger. They have 6 toes, they have 6 fingers, they have 2 rows of teeth. Now my dog's outside going nuts, but whenever you take them and over generations, okay, you say this group interbreeded with a human being. Now you take that cycle and multiply that by 2,000 years. What happens? Adaptations form. You lose that 6 toe because you're not as big. You no longer need that. So your body is adapted down. Also, you lose more of your divinity, which means your hermetic powers, I call it hermetic, lessens. They become more grounded into the dense matter form and they lose some of those capabilities. Another thing to take consideration too is they would be smaller and more aggressive because you were introducing that human genome into their mentality. And humans, I'm sorry, we are a violent species. When you take
I
primal
agree.
and mix it with human, what do you expect to happen?
Well, it's the instinct. It's that primal instinct
It's
that
the
really
Abdullah
sits.
Ablagata.
Yeah, true. Um, See, it's very interesting hearing your hypotheses of this entire situation. Um, in in the research that I have done years and years and years, is more based on when you talk about adaptation. We look at it as for instance, if this was a prevailing animal that has adapted from years back, they're just extremely reclusive, which we know. Um, got a main idea of their diet, so to speak. We do know that they're bipedal. We do know that. We do know that they eat fruits, vegetables. We know this. Have you seen juveniles? The one I saw was a juvenile. Oh, I think he wants to
Same
know if you've
juvenile.
seen juveniles.
I had
It's
one three
available.
foot
You
tall
can.
yank me out of my hammock and bruised my arm up
I would say he's seen one. Um,
over a dead Bluetooth speaker. Because my speaker died, it literally charged down the hill, yoked me out of my hammock by my arm like a rag doll, and dragged me to the speaker and started tapping on that speaker. That thing never charged again. That speaker was dead from that point on.
Hmm. It's it's amazing how big they can actually be. It is. It
I think it
is.
released a bioelectric discharge on my equipment. That's why.
I still got to roll early. Oh, okay. Bye bye. I'm glad you came on. Um, Hi, Michael. How are you? I still, it's interesting because I'm still looking at it in a physiological situation. But that's me with my outlook on it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing an animal that is adapted down through, adaptation from, and I'm sure you've heard of this particular animal that has been discovered and
Check
did
out a
actually
pithecus.
exist, gigantic pithecus, who would probably be the closest adaptation, probably would today be the bonobo, would probably be. But if you're looking at something like Sasquatch and you've got Gigantopithecus, through the adaptations that would have occurred through the years, it is totally plausible that this animal could be an adaptation of Gigantopithecus
I
when you're
personally
looking
don't
at the
think they
remote.
are. I think the Gigantopithecus is an ancient orangutan or a Pungopygmaeus.
Well, he was. He was.
Yeah.
But um, but now we're also talking about something that's been adapted down through many moons to get to where he is now. Um, People used to think that the mountain lowland gorilla was a cryptid as well, and they're very well known to this day. But
Pungopygmaeus can't do this. This is not a lens flare. This was an orb. It came floating up, and this is what discharged out of it. He was lowering his vibrational state. You can see the crest of his head. You can see his arm coming back. You can see the bending of his leg. You can see his spine, his buttock, and he was looking directly towards the camera in a sense. And he went up the hill and manifested it into its full form. Gigantopithecus, a standard animal, isn't capable of using hermetic principles.
no, they're
This
not.
is active hermeticism in real time. It does not, animals ain't doing that. No way in heck. Animals can't do that.
We about 5 years ago, I guess it was, actual caught an actual portal on film.
I have too.
It was, and
What color was
it
yours?
did blue.
Mine was black.
It was blue,
And
very
then whenever
pretty.
after they after it was finishing up, let me put my camera back around again. All right. So it turned into this yellow ball of light and started flickering after it was done. While this was occurring, I gotta click on it. While this was occurring, you had this is at an X structure. You had translucent cloaked entities going in and going out of it.
Mm.
Faces in there. And this is not pareidolia. This actually was like this thing stayed open for an hour and 5 minutes. Matter of fact, I have you on Messenger. I'll send you the video, like the whole
Okay.
video I did on it. That's a portal from the X structure. The X. After we're done, I'll send you the video.
Yeah, I'd like to see the video
I
because
will
that is
definitely
not.
send you the video.
It's a definitely of a different form that
Mhm.
we had got.
Yeah, that was
Um,
at a horizontal X structure.
yeah, we have it on video, and you can actually see things going in and coming out
Uh huh.
of it. But
Sorry,
it
I'm
did not
speaking
look
loud.
like that. What
Well,
we caught
different. What
didn't look.
what was the
There's
portal like?
all
What kind
kinds
of
of
structure
different.
was it coming out of?
It was inside of a building,
Oh,
inside of an actual building.
I never seen nothing like that. I've seen them at the tree
Yeah.
structures.
No, no, this was inside of a building, and it was interesting because we got it upstairs first. And then when we went downstairs, we caught it again downstairs, kind of like it was here's the upstairs, here's the downstairs. We caught it over here upstairs, but we caught it over here downstairs. So they didn't line up, but it was still the same portal. They don't have to line up. It
Right.
it's just an exit in different ways of getting in and out. People seem to think that they got to line up. It doesn't go by the rules of
No.
what we have. Oh, it's got to line. It doesn't need that. It doesn't make any sense with that at all. It can
See,
do
my
anything.
location, I've analyzed that the horizontal, which I just showed you, those X structures produce the black fluttering auras, and whenever it's finishing, it turns into a yellow flickering ball of light. An Astra shaped tree structure, whenever
What is
you
that?
have
Totally different species.
when you have the Astra shaped ones, it emits a purple aura, and a vertical X structure produced an orangish to yellowish hue.
Hmm.
Different frequencies of energy for different types of points.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer that anything is possible, and I've said this a million times. Anything is possible. Anything. In me, there's a difference between a possibility and a probability. Of course, I go by different. You have a certain way of investigation that's really totally different from the way that I go about it. But it's interesting because we both could come up with the same thing. And when you come across a situation like that, it's like you tell me what you caught, and I'll tell you what I caught, and somewhere there in the middle is what's going on. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to look at it from all points of view. You got to
Mhm.
look at the complete gambit of it. And it's very interesting talking to you and to what you've come up with. I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated by it. Um, I did not get that experience that you've got. My experience with it was very short. I saw it that one time. Um, I there was no communication or anything between the two of us except for and then turn around and go the other way, kind
Well,
of
you
a
got
thing.
to figure you only had that one experience with it. With me,
The
I
one.
was going in 19 years going down there bi-weekly. I mean, there's been times where I spent 2 weeks down there without leaving the woods. I have even spent almost a month down there in the woods.
Mm,
Solar equipment, solar generators, and stuff like that. Like I
right.
put the time in. I I I stayed down
Absolutely.
there with them, and I have 19 years of interacting, and then from 2007 and in 2009, I started to buy the biweekly ritual of feeding them. And it's
Hmm.
not like you go down there one day and feed them. No, it was every day of that weekend. I was gifting them.
Yeah.
I established a friendship. I didn't exploit them. I didn't even start my YouTube channel until a few years ago. because I didn't want to exploit them. I was showing photos of what I've captured, and I've had a few friends begging me to start a YouTube, so I did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's totally fascinating. And I think it's
I have
amazing.
over 1,000 videos on my channel now.
Wow. That is impressive. Well, I I remain impressed. I'm certainly glad that you came on the show to share all that with us. A lot of the stuff I've not seen before, and I've heard some talk about it, but nothing really in depth as to what you have done. And I think that's really fascinating. Like I said, I was blessed with one experience, and I'm happy with that. But
There is
nothing
something that frightens me, though.
you have.
I took a Geiger counter down there with me before, and when they come near you, when they're in their high vibrational state and they're cloaked, when they come near you, that Geiger counter starts going off saying that there's dangerous levels of radiation, harmful radiation being emitted. That's something that worries me.
It would worry me too, because Geiger counters don't go off. It's either there or it's not. It's kind of like being pregnant. Either you are or you're not.
And
So
now
they
my
can only
lungs are
detect
completely
something that is
riddled with.
there.
I got nodules all through my lungs now.
Nodules, as in little fibrous tumors, or
My X-ray looks like I took a bird shot in the chest. I have hundreds of them between both my lungs.
wow,
I,
that's
part of me thinks that's part of the reason why.
oh, it would, yeah, it could very well be. Especially if you were into prolonged exposure into around something like that. It's dangerous. We just don't know enough about it.
I mean,
And
I've been hit with
unfortunately,
infrasound. I've had lost time down there. I've seen the woods light up at 1:30 in the morning, and I thought the sun came up.
mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting things has occurred down there. I've even seen those pell crawlers. They're creepy.
It's interesting.
They have hair
Researchers
too,
they have here.
long hair.
Researchers, what a lot of people don't realize is that you're put into very awkward and strange situations, dangerous situations, because you just don't know. That's why you're researching it. Nobody knows what they're what they're actually created from. Nobody knows. This is all a mystery. We don't know if they're dangerous to be around. We don't know if the creature itself we don't know if the creature itself is actually dangerous to be around. And the researchers are hit first because, of course, you're the ones that are out there.
Look at
You're the
Mark
ones being
Barton.
exposed to it. Yeah. So, um, we have to keep ourselves safe. And sometimes it's kind of hard to keep yourself safe when you don't know what you're trying to keep yourself safe from, because you just don't know. So, people don't stop to think. People that do things like this, every time they go out there, they're really
Cause and
putting their guts
effect.
out on the line. It is. It's got a ripple effect to it. And, many kudos to those people that go out to do it, because a lot of times they're putting a lot more than just their reputation on the line. They're putting their actual health on the line and safety on the line. And from some of the things that you said tonight, you've experienced both of those. So,
I've had my
be
down
careful
moments
out
with
there.
them. I've had bad
I'm
moments. I
sure.
ain't gonna lie.
I'm sure. It's not all fun, unfortunately,
Not
but it's
always.
always fascinating. It's always fascinating. Josh, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And everybody, I hope that you've learned and you've learned something here. A lot of what Josh is saying is things that we might not have heard before. We've not had somebody speak about an encounter like this before. Um, the one thing we do know is that they're there. We do know that so many people saying, "I've seen one." You know, it's true that they're out there, but we still don't know exactly what we're dealing with. Thank you, Charles. We really appreciate that.
They're part of the
But with
divine
people like,
network.
yes, and it's people like Josh that go out there and literally put themselves on the line to try to find out what's going on. But at the same time, it's extraordinarily important that we preserve what they are, who they are, because my God, we don't want to be the reason for another, animal going extinct because somebody's trying to figure them out. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the opposite. So we want to learn, but we want to do it safely, and we want to make it safe for what we're trying to learn about as well. I want to thank everybody for coming on the show tonight. Um, let me put a another bit in your ear about our Deep South Para Comic Con coming up on August the 8th and the 9th. Got a lot of things. Say what?
Comic
Did you
Con.
say
I
something?
love Spider Man.
Oh, the Deep South Para Comic Con. That's August the 8th and the 9th. And we got a great lineup going on. Lee Triana, Terry Brown, Jeremy Leonard's going to be there. And of course, my friend Ken Gerhart is going to be there, cryptozoologist. Um, it'll be at the Enterprise Civic Center in Enterprise, Alabama. And we'd sure like to see everybody come on out and take a take a stroll through Deep South Para Comic Con. There's so much going on. It's hard for me. Keith Age is going to be there. Oh gosh, Teresa, help me out here with so many people that are going to be there. Um, James Stokes, Michael and Destiny Fox. Um, oh my gosh, my mind is going shoot because it's just so many. I gotta start writing this down. That's what I gotta start doing. But in any case, August the 8th and 9th, Deep South Fair Comic Con, Enterprise, Alabama Civic Center. You guys come on out and see us, and let's just have a good time. Josh, maybe you'd like to come down from Pennsylvania. It's a long drive, but you can do it.
I
You
like
can do
comic
it.
books.
You can do
I have a big collection of Spider Man from 1963 to 1998. Even a bunch of autograph stuff, too.
Oh, Robert Mukes is going to be there. Robert Mukes, come on, guys. House of Seven Corpses. Was it House of 1,000 Corpses? I mean, the guy is totally cool. You got to come down and see him. Well, then come bring your stuff and come on down. Richard and Colleen Johnson, they are so much fun. Blaine Rohan, he's so much. Jatin Patel, now that's a funny guy. Keith Age and the rock and roll ghost hunter. Keith Age is so much fun, and he's so knowledgeable. He's got all the stuff going on. Oh my gosh, we could just keep going. Ken, yes, Ken's going to be there. Um, so much going on. Also, I want to put a plug in for a friend of mine. You listen to this, Josh, just in case you need somebody. If you have an RV, I've got my friend Joey Booker. By George, that man can put an RV back together again. I know. He put mine back together, and when he showed me pictures of it, the first thing out of my mouth was, "That's not my RV," because my RV has never looked that good. But it really was. So if anybody has got an RV that needs to be fixed, Talk to me about my friend Joey Booker. He's really good. Alabama Ghostbusters, Ashford, Donovan, Dothan Division. They're a lot of fun too. So Jeremy Leonard, yeah, I got Jeremy Leonard in there. See, we just keep going on and on and on. All these people are going to be there. Martha Hazard Decker is going to be there. So I got Lee Brown in there.
I know who Lee Triana is. She's cool.
Yeah, Lee Triana's cool. I'm going to be there. Absolutely,
You know,
I'm going to be there.
you know who Fred Saluga is?
Who?
No, Fred Saluga. He was the director of, well, he passed away. He was the director of MUFON for West Virginia and southwestern Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He came to my research area with me and visited me there.
Did he?
He sure
Oh, I
did.
bet he had a field day up
Oh, he
there.
enjoyed
Oh my
himself.
God.
He was a very
I bet
nice
he
man.
did.
Unfortunately, he had to leave early because he got a phone call that his daughter was in the hospital in which she passed at the time.
Oh my
I
God.
felt horrible. He was with me when it happened.
I'm sorry about that. Right, right. There's going to be gaming there. See, it just keeps on going. Vendors and cosplay. Yes, sir, Bob. We're going to have it all. So we're going to sign off for tonight. Josh, thank you so very much for coming to the show and
Thanks for
for
having me. I'm going to send you
telling
some
us.
stuff.
Oh, please do. Please do. Um, we'd like to have you come back one night and tell us some experiences that you have.
Many years
Like,
of them.
there you go. You got 19
Experiments,
years worth. You can gather some up.
experiences.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. We will see you again next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central Time. And until then, you guys be careful out there. This is Debbie signing off, saying see you next Tuesday. Bye
Love,
bye.
pizza, squatch grease.